I'm grateful to be here. This is my first time in Mississippi. It's a month and a half into my reign as Miss America, and so to know that I get to have this type of impact in a state that I've never been at before. We are here raising money for the Alzheimer's, but we're at the Mississippi Chorus. It's so important because, these individuals that are faced with Alzheimer's don't necessarily have the opportunity to come out and, have a voice. And so it's really important as Miss America or title holders or even just individuals in the community that we're raising awareness for it. It is becoming an epidemic here in the United States. And so I think just to make that known, the number of individuals and the number of cases that are growing.
And what type of impact does music have on these people?
Yeah, when you listen to a song, you immediately have memories come back. And for instance, for me, winning Miss America, they play There She Is, and there's all of these floods of emotion. And, anytime I hear that, that's what I think. And so, it's amazing the power of music and the power that it can bring memories to back. Thank you so much. It is a true honor to be here today. So I don't know if any of you saw the competition, but on September 10th, 2017, my life changed completely. So did anyone see it by chance? Yes, wonderful. So it's just remarkable because you never know what the future may hold for you. And going into that night, I never expected to make top 15, top 10, top 7, top 5, and then eventually to take home the title. But I think that just shows that you don't actually know what's going to happen in your destiny. And you can try as much as you want to try to figure it out, but you don't know. And so that's why it's so important to advocate now for causes that you're passionate about. That moment when they called my name, the rest becomes just a blur. And somehow I got a crown and a sash, and I started walking down the runway, and they played the iconic song, There She Is. Has anyone heard that song? The famous song from Miss America. Exactly. And I think that's when I realized the power of music. I don't remember getting the crown. I don't remember getting the sash. I don't even really remember walking, but I remember the feelings I had in that moment. And every time I hear that song, I still just get goosebumps. And I remember I was looking for my parents, and I couldn't find them, and I got to the end of the runway, and there they were. And I don't remember what I said, but according to my mom, I bent down and I said, "Is this real? Did this just happen?" And the rest, it's all a blur. All of it. But that significant moment in my life is always going to be tied to that song. And it just shows the power of music. As Miss America, it is a scholarship-based organization as well as a service-based. And so as stated, I work very closely with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and I also work closely with Children's Miracle Network. And so in preparing what I was going to say today, I tried to think about, my experiences so far. So as Miss America, I've already visited 4 children's hospitals. But I haven't had the opportunity to necessarily work with Alzheimer's units. But what I have realized is that we focus a lot on our children, which is great, but we often forget about our elderly. And there's a time when, you need to serve as that voice for those that may not be heard or those who may not remember. And so I think that's really important why, I'm so focused and, so grateful for this opportunity. But specifically for the baby boomer generation. So as they are, approaching the age of 65, which is actually the age that's considered most high risk for Alzheimer's. I do want to make a clarification. So if you have Alzheimer's, you do have dementia. But if you have dementia, you don't necessarily have Alzheimer's. So Alzheimer's is about 40 to 60% of all dementia cases. Currently in the U.S., 5.4 million individuals have been diagnosed. But it is expected as these baby boomers get closer and closer and farther beyond the age of 65, that number is going to increase to 14 million, which just shows that this is an epidemic here in the U.S., and it's something that we need to focus on now and try to find a cure for. Here in Mississippi alone, there's 53,000 individuals who are suffering from Alzheimer's. That's 1 in every 8 older adults. And that number is just going to keep increasing. Alzheimer's is the 6th leading cause of death in America. And within the top 10 causes of death, it's the only one that there's not a preventative measure, not something that can slow it down, and there's not a cure. And so that's why it's so important that we have events like this, why we advocate, because sometimes there's not the individual who's suffering that's able to do it. They're relying on us to be that voice. Alzheimer's starts out by impacting memory. It then goes to thoughts. It goes to the ability to speak, the ability to walk, and eventually down to the simplest thing, such as swallowing. It does not discriminate. It doesn't matter if you're a male, if you're a female. It doesn't matter if you lived a life of service, whether you're a multimillionaire or maybe you're just getting by. It doesn't matter. And it can affect anyone at any time. Hereditary, it is often hereditary. There's been numerous studies that have gone on, and if you're Caucasian, you're about 22% at risk. African Americans, about 44% at risk. But that doesn't mean, it can't hit you if you're not within that top percentage that's most at risk. Every 66 seconds, someone is diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Every 66 seconds. So just standing up here, I'm going to be up here for about 8 minutes, and that's 8 individuals just within this speech. As those numbers continue to grow, it is expected that baby boomers, once we get past that age of 65, it's going to increase to every 33 seconds. Like I said, 5.4 million currently diagnosed, expected to get up to 14 million and maybe even beyond that. We can't really predict it, so that's almost 3 times what it currently is at. As stated, 10 years ago it was something that we didn't really know about. But it is, unfortunately, the cause of 1 in every 3 deaths of elderly individuals. And as I said, when I became Miss America, I never expected what the future holds, and that's same for all of us. Maybe it doesn't affect us now, maybe it does, but you never know when it might affect a neighbor, when it might affect a parent or someone else in your family, or maybe it might even affect you. When I competed for Miss America, people often said that, I wouldn't win because it had never happened before. And that's why it was my goal, to be out there, to be the, one leading the way. And I think that's very similar to a cure for Alzheimer's. We don't have one yet, but that doesn't mean that there won't be one. It doesn't mean that you can be the person out there that's advocating, raising money. Maybe you're the one, those young kids out there, maybe you're the one who's going to find a cure. But we need to raise awareness now. And like I said, that's why this is so important. This is why, I'm so grateful that all of you are here and why I'm grateful that I've been asked to speak on top of this topic of it. I hope in 70 years, I'll be 93 years old, almost 94. But I hope that when I hear that song, there she is, I have those same memories that come back. And people, there's that famous quote, people don't remember, what you say or necessarily what you do, but they always remember how that makes you feel. And that's the same with music. I just want to close by reminding you that, never underestimate the power of music or the power of your impact or the power of you being here. All of us were educating ourselves on Alzheimer's and we're able now to go out and continue this education to the rest. Like I said, those that are suffering may not always have that voice, but you do. And so I encourage you to go out, share these statistics, and to keep raising awareness, and hopefully one day we'll find the cure. Thank you.
Alzheimer's it's a big issue for the state. It has a large impact on the state economy, local families, with 53,000 Mississippians diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease and 206,000 caregivers. Easily every year, $5,000 or more comes out of the pocket of a caregiver, and not to mention time poverty and the stress. So we have 40 support groups across the state, and so we try to provide resources as much as we can for family caregivers.
There's sort of an inner self that people have that they lose, when they become, involved with Alzheimer's. And music, because it's a total brain experience, has many pathways that are still open. And when people listen to music, it opens those pathways and they're able to remember things that they had forgotten. They remember their childhood, they remember people's names, they remember experiences. So it gives them a chance for a while to experience who they really are. And the caregivers quite often say, that's my wife, the way I remember her, that's grandma. And so it's a wonderful way for them to sort of be who they were at one time.
Music and Memory is a therapeutic, personalized music program for individuals with cognitive, intellectual, mental, or physical challenges. So it's about providing individuals with a collection of music that holds personal meaning for them, just the way we all like to hear our music, instead of just generic music we should like based on our age. So when you give individuals, specifically with memory challenges, access to their favorite music, it can be used as a door or a gateway to unlock those long-term memories and emotions that are stored along with their favorite music, and help to tell the story of really who they are and how they live and how they love, and really can help them to connect with the world around them, with their family members, and even rediscover their own personal identity. So it's a magical thing. I find it really fascinating, and really enhances the quality of life for them and their family members and those that care for them as well.
Right now, so much of what happens with people with Alzheimer's is that we send them to an institution and we give them medication and put them in a room, and then when they need medication again, we do that, maybe set them out in a commons area. Some places now are experimenting with not doing so much medication, but letting music and other kinds of activities take the place of that. And it's happening with some really good success. You know, it's still early in the experimental stages of this, but there's a lot of hope out there for this being a good therapeutic way to deal with Alzheimer's.
My husband's mother and father lived with me for the last 5 years of their life. One had vascular dementia, one had Alzheimer's disease, and watching them embrace the end of their life, at the same time losing their touch with reality, taught me so many life lessons. Some of them funny, some of them sad, but all of them very, very meaningful. And if I can give just one person hope that it's going to be all right, then this concert will be worth it.
Losing your memory is a scary thing. And my mother had vascular dementia. My mother-in-law had Alzheimer's dementia. And I've been a nurse for 30 years and cared for families mostly my whole career. And, you know, you lose the things that you held dear. So, like, you know, with music and memory, one of the last things to go is your memory of your music and the things that you enjoyed. So, you lose remembering your family members, remembering where you worked, remembering just so much. So it's a burden for families because people have trouble living alone sometime, and they need people to help them learn to cook or be able to cook.
Tell me, what is the Mississippi Chorus doing here tonight?
Well, this is a community group made up entirely of volunteers, and they love to help out with different causes, and so we're here to perform in support of the Alzheimer's research that's going on in the state of Mississippi and across the country, really.
The Mississippi Chorus is performing my work, which was written about Alzheimer's disease, and the Alzheimer's Association is one of the sponsors. And it's a work that was based on stories from a number of people who've had family members or friends with Alzheimer's disease. And it was commissioned by a chorus in Pennsylvania from almost 10 years ago. And we put this together. And in spite of the fact that it's about such a terrible disease, it talks about the uplifting power of music to help those who are suffering from Alzheimer's disease.
The piece of music that we're doing is Alzheimer's disease, and it is an incredibly uplifting and embracing piece of music. And the one thing, when I was talking to the composer earlier, that struck me was one of the first times that he performed this. A huge man came racing up to him afterwards, and he was a little frightened. He had tears streaming down his face, and he said, "I now know it's going to be all right, and I can live through this." He was dealing with his wife at the time. So anybody whose life is touched by Alzheimer's disease is going to be moved by tonight's concert.
Falters,
I think this is just a great opportunity, and it's an opportunity for us to demonstrate that music really has a role in society to play that goes beyond entertainment to really doing good for other people.
What inspired me to get involved is through the Miss Mississippi organization, we give back. We give to our communities, we give to our state, and so why I'm involved is to give back. Because this is a group of people, this is an organization that I'm so happy to give back to because I want to encourage it and bring awareness to it for other people.
Everyone is in need of their own personalized music playlist, and no one can do a better job of creating your playlist than you. So we encourage everybody to create their own playlist and then create one for someone else. It's a wonderful journey that you can take with someone else.
We have over 40 support groups across the state. We have 3 conferences across the state, northern, central, and southern. We usually have about 150 people attend. It's free to the community. We also do community programs around the year across the state.
In our state, the Alzheimer's Association has a 1-800 number that you can connect to 24 hours a day free of charge, that is staffed by over 100 master's degreed social workers that speak 300 different languages that are there to support caregivers and to support people who are battling this disease. In our state, we have 53,000 Mississippians living with Alzheimer's and 206,000 caregivers, and that's a conservative number because people don't really report and don't really get a diagnosis because there's a stigma associated with Alzheimer's and dementia. So we're there to support them. We're there to build awareness and let them know that we're here.